I never thought I'd see someone thrown into a police cruiser in a sundress and a floppy sun hat, screaming about her sovereign beach rights. But that was how my weekend getaway ended. Not with a cocktail by the pool, not with a bonfire by the waves, but with Karen, yes, the Karen, getting cuffed on hot sand while accusing the police of being part of a deep state HOA conspiracy. But I'm getting ahead of myself. You're probably wondering how a simple, peaceful vacation spiraled into a full-blown beachside showdown with law, enforcement, a ruined wedding ceremony, and a woman demanding emotional reparations because someone dared touch her cooler. It started with a broken fence and a borrowed cabana. Just a quiet afternoon. I wasn't looking for trouble. Just salt air, sunblock, and maybe a little peace after a brutal quarter at work. But some people see peace as a personal insult. And Karen? She's not just any beachgoer. She's the self-declared queen of coastal conduct. And her rulebook? Made up on the spot. But what she didn't know, what she never saw coming, was that I record everything. And this time, it wouldn't just be another tantrum swept under the boardwalk. This time, the tide was turning. 3 weeks before the chaos, I booked a long overdue solo vacation to Seaglass Bay, a tucked-away beach town known for quiet mornings, soft tides, and overpriced souvenir shells. I needed the break. The last 6 months at work had turned my brain to static, and if I stared at one more spreadsheet, I was going to start screaming in binary. So I picked a little cottage rental near the dunes. Nothing fancy. It had a private stretch of sand, a weathered hammock, and a cabana that looked like it had hosted one too many retired surfers. Perfect. My plan was simple: read, relax, reset. I even brought a new waterproof speaker and a cooler, stocked with everything from energy, drinks to mocktails. No drama, no noise. Just me and the tide. That lasted 3 hours. The first red flag flapped into view mid-afternoon. Literally. A bright red beach umbrella appeared smack in the center of my rented beach access. Not close to it. Not next to it. Dead center. I figured it was a mistake. The public beach was a few hundred feet down the shoreline. But people got confused sometimes. I stood up, walked over, and politely said, "Hey there! Just a heads up, this stretch is part of my rental. It's private." That's when I met her. Blonde bob. Oversized shades. Designer beach. Bag slung across one shoulder like she'd just stepped out of a reality show confessional. And a voice that could peel paint off a boardwalk sign. "Oh, honey," she said, tilting her sunglasses down. "You must be new here." "I rented this place," I explained, trying to keep it friendly. "It includes the cabana and this stretch of beach. The sign's posted back there, just in case." Karen didn't even glance at the sign. "Well, that used to be true," she said, folding her arms. "But the Seaglass Coastal Committee recently voted to make this area shared access. You probably didn't get the memo. We're very inclusive here." I blinked. "Seaglass Coastal Committee? It's basically our neighborhood HOA," she replied with the kind of smugness only HOA members and small claims court plaintiffs can truly master. "We manage all the beach spaces for harmony and visual unity. Can't have people putting up clashing towels and cluttering the vibe, you know?" Now, 2 things were immediately clear. 1, there was no HOA here. Seaglass Bay explicitly listed its beach cottages as non-HOA properties, which was exactly why I chose it. 2, Karen had made up an entire beach governance council in the span of 1 sentence. I tried diplomacy first. "Well, I appreciate that, but I signed a contract for this property, and it specifies exclusive beach access. So I'm going to have to ask you to move your umbrella." Karen's smile thinned. "You can't own the ocean, sweetie." "No," I replied. "But I can rent the 200 feet of sand between it, and the fence behind my cottage." She scoffed and turned her back to me, unrolling her towel like I'd asked her to donate a kidney. I stood there, stunned. Then I walked back to my cabana, pulled out my phone, and checked the listing again. Exclusive access. No shared usage. And here was the kicker. Security cameras facing the beach. Bingo. That night, I spoke with the property manager, who confirmed that no such committee existed. He said, "Yeah, Karen's a problem. Local police know her by name. She thinks everything's hers, including last summer's 4th of July fireworks show. She called in a noise complaint on a city-sponsored event. By morning, she had escalated. Not just 1 umbrella now, 3. A full beach picnic setup complete with battery-powered string lights and a Bluetooth speaker blaring yacht rock. She'd set up a folding sign reading, "Reserved for Seaglass community events." I walked over. "Karen, you can't just claim space that doesn't belong to you." "Oh, relax," she said. "We're celebrating the birthday of the founding member of the Seaglass. Coastal Committee, me. Come grab a cupcake if you want to get on our good side." That's when I realized this wasn't confusion. This was a turf war, and Karen was playing for keeps. I started documenting everything. Photos, videos, timestamps. On the third day, I woke to find my cabana had been redecorated, with pastel ribbons and a sign that said Karen's Corner. I called the property manager again. "This is getting ridiculous," I told him. He replied, "You're not the first, but you might be the first one keeping a record." That evening I found Karen on a megaphone. A megaphone. She was addressing a group of sunburned strangers about preserving the dignity of the Seaglass shores. I watched in disbelief as a newlywed couple, who had planned their beachside vow renewal on my rental's private access, were told by Karen that they needed a ceremonial beach pass. The groom looked at me helplessly. "Is she with the city?" "She's with herself," I said. "I've got it on video." That was the turning point, because that night I didn't just call the property manager. I called the actual local precinct, and I told them everything. They'd already had 3 complaints logged about Karen this month. So when I mentioned the fabricated HOA, the trespassing, the interference with a private event, and the destruction of private decor, they said they'd send someone the next morning. That's when things started to spiral. At 7 a.m. the next day, I caught Karen on camera dragging a trash bag across my beach chairs. Then she sprayed sunscreen on one of the lenses of the security cam. Petty? Sure, but also illegal. She didn't know it yet, but she was about to walk right into a legal riptide. I was done playing nice. The police officer arrived just before noon. Perfect timing. Karen had just finished marking out VIP beach zone in the sand using driftwood and seashells. I kid you not. Officer Marquez asked a few simple questions. Karen responded with a binder, a meltdown, and a story so ridiculous it practically impeached itself. By that evening, she'd been given a warning. The next day, she staged a one-woman resistance camp with tiki torches and fake HOA permits printed from her home computer. She even issued me a citation on pink paper charging me $85 for unauthorized umbrella use. I kept it as a souvenir, but she didn't stop. It took a second police visit and a city inspector to finally push her off the rails. She punched a tiki torch. She screamed at a city employee. She dunked her beach chair in the ocean in protest. And finally, they cuffed her. The beach applauded. But I wasn't done. I filed for a court injunction with the help of a local attorney, who, ironically, was the bride Karen had tried to shake down. We organized a website, gathered over a dozen witness statements, and exposed her whole fantasy operation. At the final court hearing, she represented herself, in a white dress, with Seaglass in her purse. She called me a digital saboteur, argued the case on the grounds of vibrational misalignment, and claimed she had jurisdiction over sand. She lost, badly. And when they banned her from the beach for 5 years, she finally cracked. She moved inland. The beach stayed peaceful. And I came back, just one more time, to sit in my hammock, breathe in the salt air, and smile at the new sign on the fence. Private beach, no committees, no citations, just peace. What started as a solo vacation turned into a legal battle, a viral video, and a win for everyone who's ever been bossed around by someone holding a clipboard they printed themselves. Sometimes justice takes the shape of a courtroom. Sometimes it sounds like a round of applause on hot sand. And sometimes it just feels like silence, finally.